participate as well. But thank you so much for what you've already done and how much you've encouraged me to keep going and keep making this better and better. A quick recap of the last video. Hopefully you watched the last two. If you shouldn't, you should go back and watch it or watch it again. And I want to talk about the cheat sheets. We used the cheat sheet method for the fillers, additives, and other ingredients, and just having a one-page document that somebody or you could use to look at a supplement label and say, there is a bunch of junk in here. I probably shouldn't be taking this. It's time to upgrade. We talked about the chemically synthesized vitamins. We talked about real versus fake and the value difference between the two. We talked about the different names that fake or synthetic vitamins go by and how they're kind of hidden on the label. But when you have a cheat sheet, you can spot them like a detective. And that's kind of where you want to be at in order to understand good for me, bad for me, worth my money or not. We talked about the chemical processing of vitamins in terms of how they're made, how we use acetone and formaldehyde, how we're making vitamins these days from coal tar and petroleum waste byproducts, and the scary, ugly nature of that situation, how real it is, and how you can put it on one sheet, and how that's a powerful tool for you personally and or professionally. We also talked about having a 7-point checklist on one piece of paper that you could give a client and say, go home, see if your supplement meets this 7 criteria, bring it back and let's talk. So I want to talk about that right now as far as, let's articulate that. Let's fill in the details and the gaps on that 7-point checklist. Okay, number 1 on the 7-point checklist is food versus non-food. How are the vitamins, minerals, nutrients in your supplement sourced? Where do they come from? What are they made from? Very critical thing to understand. We talked about this in video 1. You'll see this from the live seminar. We're going to go into it very deep, etc. But a couple things to think about, to articulate to patients and clients, to understand yourself really, really well and be the expert. There's a difference between vitamin versus vitamin activity. Again, we talked about how you can make a vitamin out of coal tar or a petroleum product or some other molecular chemical structure can be manipulated to create something that has a vitamin-like structure. Even though it doesn't look exactly like the real thing under the microscope, it's still similar enough to be called that, and it can be marketed and produced and consumed. And there's a huge value difference, right? So vitamin versus vitamin activity. Just because it is a vitamin doesn't mean it has the same vitamin activity as the real vitamin that comes from a food source. So you have to understand that vitamins these days, synthetic vitamins, the man-made fake vitamins, are almost like drugs. They have a biochemical, biological effect very similar to pharmaceuticals, very similar to drugs. They force reactions on the human body. Food-based nutrients don't do that. Okay? That's also why you can have toxicity issues with synthetic vitamins. They force reactions. No matter who you are, you put this in, you're going to get this reaction typically. With food, the body gets the ability to choose how it's going to use that information, how it's going to use that biochemical information, as if it were information, to change what your body does, how it behaves, how it acts. Very different, very cool concept to go deep with if you choose to, and I encourage you to, but you don't need to if you don't want to. You just have to know that there is a difference. In terms of what you're spending your money on, and is it helping your health or compromising your health, it's something to consider. That's why I do not take synthetic vitamins. I don't let people do them. They may be fortified mildly, but most products on the market are fortified entirely, or the majority of the stuff that's in there is fortified with synthetic vitamins and minerals and nutrients. Bad idea, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to think about what it's actually doing to our biology, our physiology, and our health. So understand the difference between vitamin versus vitamin activity. You don't necessarily want the vitamin, you want the activity it produces. So that's another way of saying it. Once you understand that at that level, you're way ahead of everybody, and you're probably way ahead of where you were before, and you can talk about it differently as well. Focus and get obsessed with the activity, the response, because typically you do not get that from fake synthetic vitamins. You get an abnormal, unhealthy, almost allergic-like response. So they can stimulate, they can make people feel good. Synthetic B vitamins can make people feel good in the short term, kind of like a drug will, but it doesn't fix any true cause. The true cause in this day and age is not vitamin or mineral deficiency per se, it's food nutrient deficiency. Do you understand the difference between the two? That is a huge statement right there. Again, food nutrient deficiency is not so much even the nutrient, it's what the nutrients do to the biology. That's what we're deficient is. That's why people are ailing and have symptoms and can't heal. And we're starting to have regression in age and growth and development. The human race should be evolving, not de-evolving. So what we're seeing now is people are ingesting large amounts of synthetic vitamins in droves every day, and they think they're getting what they want, they're getting value for the dollar. They're buying vitamins. They're not buying vitamin activity, the response. That's what we're spending your money on. Big difference. So, number one point on the checklist is, where is it sourced from? Do you know? Is it sourced from true food? Does it come in food form? Does it carry a food label? Or does it carry a USP label? A USP label is going to list all the fake stuff out and give you numbers. And people are obsessed. We've been unconsciously trained to get obsessed with the USP label. How many vitamins are in there? And in what ratios? And in what percentages? You got to scrap that idea. That's an old, outdated, antiquated, and somewhat harmful idea. We need to be going towards a food label idea. It lists all the foods that have been packed into the supplement, right? It doesn't have to list out all the fractionated, isolated synthetic vitamins. I don't buy that stuff. I want to buy the response, the vitamin activity that comes from true food. I don't care about the vitamins that are listed per se. I know the reality behind that situation. I'm trying to get you guys to wake up to that too. So getting a customer, a client, a patient, a friend, a family member to understand food label versus USP label, vitamin versus vitamin activity, and look at your label. Does it meet the criteria of it's a food label and it's sourced from a food source? If it does, go ahead and put a check in that box. That's a win on number one. So number two, fortification. How much of it is it fortified? Now I'm going to piggyback number one on this because you want to look at the USP label versus a food label. What's listed on the label? Okay, the names. What's written there? Are there foods listed like apricot, peach, strawberry, mango, kale, parsley? That's what you want on a label. A lot of those words. That's a food label. A USP label is vitamin A, B, 3, 6, 9, C, zinc, molybdenum. All these minerals and vitamins that they've somehow made in the lab, fractionated down, reconstituted together, and it's nothing like what your body's actually truly designed to ingest and make use of. So how much of it is it fortified? Now here's a disclaimer. Most good high-end products like the one I take has to be fortified at least a little bit to meet government regulations. Okay? So don't be too alarmed if it's fortified a little bit, but only a little bit is acceptable. Usually somewhere in the range of like 2 to 6 elements, 6 elements-ish, 7, 8-ish. So those vitamins and or minerals listed out, count them up. If there's more than 6, it's probably more of a vitamin product, a cheap man-made synthetic version that's not going to elicit the response that you truly want or think you're paying for. So know the difference. Teach people the difference. And if you're getting more of a food label, it's more of a food-based product, then you can say that it's minimally fortified. You can check that box. That's a win on number 2. 2 out of 2. Number 3, processing methods. How is this ingredient, this product, processed? Sometimes you actually have to call the company to figure out. And most people are lazy. They will not do the legwork to do this. But again, guys, gals, remember, this is something you're taking every single day. These are chemicals that you're putting in your body. Natural or unnatural, they're still chemicals that cause a biochemical reaction that either move you closer to health or disease. So you better know where it's coming from, what part of the world, how it's made, etc., etc. Basically, we have to elevate our appreciation for how a product is truly processed. We have to at least know a little bit about how supplements are processed, where they're sourced from, how they go from initial ingredient to what you're actually truly ingesting, which means how much value you're getting or not getting from it. So it does have a lot to do with heat. You know that heating things up tends to destroy things. Overcooking your vegetables destroys the nutritional value. Most supplement products on the market are subjected to high heat temperatures to process them. And by most, I do mean most. 90, 95%, that many. Most of what people who are watching this video are taking highly heated products that have been killed and destroyed and altered. And just because it says be this, be that, vitamin C this or that, they're ingesting it thinking they're doing something good for your health. You're not. If it's been killed, you can't value from it. So you want to find a product, a supplement, like what I take. It was harvested at the best possible time. Not too early so it stayed well to ship, but harvested at the most ripe, perfect time to have the most nutrient value. Then it's hurried up and frozen. Then it's hurried up and juiced. Then it's powdered. Then it's shipped immediately so you can consume. Most amount of value from harvest to consumption. That's worth spending your money on. If it can stay on a shelf for a decade, don't buy it. If it comes in a hard tablet or pill, which means it's been heated and ground and pushed together, I don't think you should be buying it. I know that's been highly processed and heated and killed and destroyed, meaning by the time you ingest it, you're getting a small amount of value. One other thing, a couple other things to share: air-dried, drum-dried, freeze-dried. You can call the company and ask them, what is your whole food-based supplement made out of? Or how is it processed, rather? How is it packaged, heated, etc.? And they'll tell you. Or sometimes they'll tell you on the label. Usually you have to call, though. I like freeze-dried. That means it's flash frozen. It's not subjected to heat too much or any at all. It maintains nutritional value. The chemical structure has not been broken down, which means the value is very high once I ingest it. Have to know the difference if you're going to spend money on supplements. That's just what smart people do. Chemicals used. Remember, go back to the cheat sheet. Look at the vitamin. Identify the name, the true actual form of the vitamin, and then reference how many chemicals were used. Was acetone, formaldehyde, hydrochloric acid, were any other acids, petroleum, or coal used in the making of this product? Because that's what you are ingesting as well. You have to know how it's processed. That all comes down to value, which is how much you're getting from it. Is it moving you closer to health or closer to disease? Should you be spending no money on it or spending a good amount of money on it because it's high value for you? Harvesting and transported. A lot of times, whole food-based supplements are harvested too early because there's a delay in terms of when they're harvested, when they can be processed, packaged, shipped, etc. So they harvest early so it doesn't go bad, right? You want to have a product that's harvested at the peak. Freshness, ripeness, nutritional value. Flash frozen, processed very quickly, flash frozen, processed well, delivered, high value, high nutrition, etc. Anything other than that is a waste of money in my opinion. That's what we should be gravitating towards. So again, I can't explain it all in this video. You'll see me go a little deeper in the live seminar I do, but that's at least what we should be thinking about in a 7-point checklist. So if people can understand that this is a good processing method, very little heat was used, very few chemicals were used, then they can check that off, and that's 3 for 3. Number 4 on the 7-point checklist is third-party certification. Look at your label. Is there any type of third-party certification where the manufacturer of the product said it's worth our time and money to have somebody else look at the product and say, this is exactly what you guys say it is. Everything that you say is in there, and there's nothing else in there that got in there by accident. That's important. You will not find that in most supplement products on the market, especially most of the commercial brands. They are processing this thing as fast and as cheaply as possible, trying to get it to the market, trying to get it to stay on the shelf for as long as possible, and trying to have the biggest margin they can. That's just how business works. But the good companies will have a third party that they ship their product to, or they subject a third party to random audits of the product to say, everything that you say is in there in the amounts that you say it is, and we did not find any extra things that found its way in there that's not listed on the product or that shouldn't be in there. So one thing that I love, NSF certification. This is a third-party, not-for-profit organization that will scrutinize a product, and it's actually even better than organic. FYI, organic, certified organic, yeah, that's okay. That's decent. That's in the middle of my values. But NSF is higher. It's better than organic. A lot of certified organic products, they might be certified organic when they're growing and developing the product and harvesting it, but there's a lot of things that can happen after that in the manufacturing facility. There can be other things that get added in, or because it's processed in a plant where another product is processed, it's scary. It's some weird stuff happening out there as far as when they put this common products under a microscope, they find a bunch of extra stuff that shouldn't be in there. Buyer beware on that. Look for a third-party certification. Ideally, look for NSF certified products. So worth the money. Much more value, much more quality control, and that's what you want when you're going to spend money on stuff. Real quick tidbit on this concept. Out of over 50,000 products in the marketplace, only 349 products from 33 manufacturers are certified by NSF. Okay, that's why I'm a supplement geek. I'm very picky if I'm going to take it every day. If my big why is this is really moving me towards health or disease, this is a big deal, life or death situation, I want the best product, there has to be a certification telling me this is the best product. There's no extra crap in there that I'm having every day. It's safe, enjoy, proceed, move on with life. So that's number 4. If I can get somebody to identify that there's a third-party certification, especially NSF, check that off the list. They're 4 for 4 on the 7-point checklist. Number 5 on the 7-point checklist is fillers, additives, preservatives, and dyes. First and foremost, no dyes at all. I will fail somebody right off the bat if they're asking me if they should keep taking their supplement, if their supplement is good, if there's any type of dye listed in there at all, especially an artificial dye. That's not allowed. That's bad for you to ingest every day. Then I want them to actually count up how many extra filler ingredients, additives, etc. And that's where I ask them, take this sheet home. You can use the filler, additives, dyes checklist. I want you to add up on your product, or we'll do it together in person, how many fillers, additives, dyes, and artificial colors are in there. A certain amount, a couple, a small handful, especially if they're from healthy sources, I'm okay with that because things have to be manufactured, certain ingredients have to be used to process a product. But I have a threshold. It's got to be a small amount, and they need to be from healthy sources. So that checklist I gave you kind of helps you navigate those waters and helps you add those things up and helps you convince yourself and or somebody else. This has way too many fillers, additives, dyes, colors. You should not be consuming that amount of unhealthy chemicals, non-nutritive chemicals, unnecessary chemicals every single day and call it healthy. It's not good. Throw it away. Move on to something else. So if they can come back with minimal to no fillers in there, I check that one off the list and say you're 5 for 5. Let's keep going. Number 6 on the 7-point checklist is distribution method and price. I want to know how much something costs. I want to know where they bought it. I kind of want to know the chain that things went through to go from original ingredient to product that's meant to be ingested. I will tell you right off the bat, I am very biased about big box store supplements, things that are sold in big box stores. I don't recommend that any patients or clients buy things from big box stores. I usually don't. Most of my products come from buying online from the product manufacturer themselves and skip the middleman. And here's why. When you have to go through a big box store, you have to create a product in such a fashion that the cost to the producer is small, so it can be sold at a price point that's respectable and competitive, and that creates the profit margin. So in this competitive world of supplements, people are struggling and fighting tooth and nail to create a product that costs very little, i.e. little value, but can be sold at a small price or a big price, inflated price, whatever, to create their margin so the company can make a lot of money. And you know who's really, really, really good at this? Drug manufacturers. They have mastered this process. They can make pharmaceuticals out of horrible, horrible ingredients that cost them next to nothing. They can charge super overinflated prices, and their margin is ridiculous, sometimes 1,000, 2,000% margin, and they make a lot of money. That's how they get rich. Supplement companies are very similar in the way that they do their process. Make something out of something super cheap, little to no value, mark it up, make a lot of money, and sell as much as you can. I like companies that will do anything and everything to find the best quality ingredients and try to preserve the ingredient value as they process it. Yes, it's going to cost me more, but I'm okay with that because cost equals value to me. I'd never let anybody buy a $9 supplement. What is the value that you're really going to get from that? There are some exceptions, but think about that. I like supplements that do cost a little bit of money, especially when I know the manufacturing process and the reputation and the certifications and it meets the other points in the checklist. I'm willing to pay that money because I'm actually getting the true value from that. So you should consider that as well. So price point and distribution method, if it's sold in a store and if there's margin issues, etc., buyer beware. I ask them to come back, tell me that stuff. If everything meets that criteria, I say check it off the list. You're 6 for 6. Let's keep moving on to number 7. Lastly, number 7 on the 7-point checklist of a good supplement is convenience and sustainability. Okay? Convenience. Not is it easy to get, meaning can you just drive down to Walgreens and pick up another bottle whenever you want or whenever you run out? Meaning, is it easy to consume on a regular basis? Okay, I've done a lot of coaching in my practice on juicing and blended drinks and combining a bunch of stuff. And some people can do it, and most people can't. The some that did, they didn't find it easy to do daily. I'm a big believer in you got to find the right supplement that's easy and convenient for you to take consistently every day. That's where you get massive long-term value from. So it has to be convenient. It can't. Also, liquid stuff. Sometimes I've deterred or stirred myself away from that because I can't travel with them, etc. You understand what I'm saying, right? Now, some other things that have been encapsulated, like food, juice, or produce powders, like the real stuff that's been manufactured really well, but it's been encapsulated, and I can take it with me anywhere in the world and still take it daily. That's a win-win. That's good stuff. Sustainability. Price point is important. I don't like recommending supplement protocols to people that are super expensive. A lot of doctors do this, and if you follow those patients, do they keep doing that good thing year after year, decade after decade? No. They eventually got distracted. They ran out of money. They didn't understand the value, etc. I like a price point that is truly sustainable. High quality, a decent price point, not too low, not too high. You could see yourself doing it indefinitely. The products that I take, I don't ever see myself ever not being able to afford or ever stop taking because of price or convenience reasons, etc. So that's what I also want to focus on the 7-point checklist. If I want to help somebody go from their bad supplement protocols to a new supplement protocol, I want it to be convenient, I want it to be at a good price point, and I want it to be something that I could see this person doing for the rest of their life, and the time we spent together was truly valuable and impactful. So that's my 7-point checklist. I think if you can find a product that meets all those 7 points, a little or a lot in each category, you're going to do really, really, really well. You're making good decisions, way better than average. The truth is, most people, if they were to put their product through that 7-point checklist, they probably would check 1, 2, or none of those boxes. And that's the sad state of affairs of the supplement industry and how it's following pharmaceutical trends, etc. That's the bad decisions that people are making unknowingly. Good people that are spending hard-earned money on products that really aren't valuing them. That is one of the reasons, again, why I put this program together, is to try to level the playing field, give people good information, a good strategic approach to things. That's the